We've got the streaming issue fixed, so everybody should be ready to go. And so we will go ahead and call this meeting of the Yelm City Council of October 13th, 2020 to order. And please join me in doing a salute to our flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the country for which it responds. Oh my goodness. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think you all probably finished it without me. All right, thank you. Lori, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember James Blair. Councilmember Molly Carmody.
Here.
Councilmember EJ Curry.
Here.
Councilmember Tad Stillwell.
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Joe DePinto.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Kaminsky.
Here.
JW Foster. Mayor JW Foster.
That's
Thank
fine.
you.
Here, thank you. Yeah, we're good. All right, very good. Could we entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please? Oh, excuse me. Although we did have discussion about this before, it is important for us to document. We'll just, if you can choose to excuse or not excuse, but for the record, we have not heard from Councilmember Blair today, which would make him unexcused for this meeting unless the council wishes to excuse him. And he may sign in later on, so we'll allow that when that happens.
Move to excuse.
Okay, there is a motion to excuse Councilmember Blair by Councilmember DePinto. Needs a second.
Second. This is Molly. Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Carmody. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries to excuse Councilmember Blair from the meeting. Could we approve the agenda, please?
Actually, I had a really quick question on the agenda. This is Molly.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it and under 6B, it has the budget presentation, but I don't see that in our packet anywhere. Is there like an additional thing that I missed somewhere along the way?
No, that's a really good question, Councilmember Carmody, in that tonight you will be receiving the presentation that was being finalized up until the minutes prior to the meeting. You will receive the full presentation and the full budget packet as an email, and it will be posted to our website tonight immediately following the meeting.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to clarify where that was. So I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. We have an agenda. We have, and Grant, you might have to help me with this. Has anybody signed up on online to do comment tonight?
Nothing ahead of the meeting,
Okay.
but they can raise their hand or say something in chat. Excuse me.
Very good. So having not received anything in writing, this is the part of our meeting where we entertain public comment on items that are on the not on the agenda. And so using hands, I do see one comment. Larry Levine would like to address the council. I'll remind our attendees that during the public comment, you can address the council on anything that you'd like. You have 3 minutes, and we do have a mute button and know how to use it. So, Mr. Levine, please address the council.
Hi, good evening. I hope you can hear me, sir.
We can.
Great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Larry Levine, and I am the Executive Director of Forever Green Trails, the nonprofit organization that has been partnering with Yelm and Roy and Thurston and Pierce counties on the Yelm Prairie Line Trail. And firstly, I wanted to offer some preliminary congratulations on Yelm's good initial ranking of number 9 out of 29 grant projects submitted to the state's Recreation and Conservation Office for your phase 2 grant application for the trail. So that's a good showing. And I know I'll be looking for opportunities to make sure that Yelm receives that funding through the state, and I'll be in touch if any help is needed. Forever Green, in cooperation with the National Park Service Rivers, Trails and Conservation Assistance Program, is engaged in a conceptual study of the trail. And as part of that, we're seeking some public input in the form of an online questionnaire that will be open until November 14th. And rather than read you a webpage address, I pasted it into the chat there. It's a pretty short, pretty tiny URL as they come. And I hope that you can share that around, and folks are welcome to take that. We encourage you to take that little online survey. And there's also a Yelm Prairie Line Trail Facebook page if folks would like to keep up to date on information about the project on both sides of the river. And if for some reason you lose track of both of those URLs, if you just remember forevergreentrails.org, that's my organization's website, and you can get links to both of those. I just want to say thank you so much for spreading the word about the trail survey, and also thank you so much for your partnership on this important trail. And that is all I have to say this evening.
Thank you, Larry, and we do appreciate the work that you've done on behalf of this regionally important project. We will post that link to the survey on our website and do a little push out on it. Can you tell me what the expiration date of the survey is?
Yeah, the deadline is November 14th. So on the 15th, we'll pull it. So
okay,
deadline November 14th.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
We also have another citizen who would like to address the council. This is Bethany Ryan. Bethany, if you'll unmute yourself and go ahead and address the council for your 3 minutes, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I want to address the city, the mayor and the council. You have over 400, maybe 500 complaints about the August water bill. The water bill has been inflated, and all of these residents are upset about getting their inflated water bills because they can't afford to pay them. Some of them range between $300. Mine personally was $352 for the month of August, which is outrageous, and it was not. It's not right. We did not use that water. You say that we have no leaks, and you say we used it because of excess heat in the month of August and because of the governor's stay home order, which is not true. And you need to be honest about what's going on with the residents. So the mayor's proposal, what he did a few weeks ago is a Band-Aid solution. It's not helping the residents of Yelm. I want you guys to put together a better amendment such as James Blair's proposal. Another thing I want to talk about is the proposed budget that you guys are going to be talking about tonight. And I want to talk to you guys about all the money that the taxpayers are paying for everything that the city does and what you guys vote on. That's money that is coming out of our pockets. You need to think long and hard about what you're spending your money on that's actually our money. Please use our money wisely. We are in troubled times, and I really can't understand what's going on in this city right now. And all the residents have been hurt. And I can't understand. I can't understand why you guys are not fixing this problem. The last thing I last thing I want to say is that, Mr. Mayor, you need to be very respectful of the residents. And when I hear you say that you know how to use the mute button, that does not sit with me very well. It does not say that you are a mayor that cares about the residents. And it's very unflattering for your seat. I am greatly disturbed by you saying that you can use the mute button. That's all I have to say.
Andrew,
You're on mute, Mayor.
Thank you, Bethany. I really appreciate you having the courage to come on and talk to the council like you have several times. I know you speak on behalf of many people in the community with your concerns. You'll also know that the council has spent a lot of time and staff has spent a lot of time working on these issues, particularly the water bill issue. I know you've had personal conversations with our team, and although you're not satisfied with the answers that you've gotten from them, overall, we feel like we've done the best that we can at this point in time to mitigate the effects of the water bills through the July-August cycle. Moving forward, you'll see in the budget that you mentioned and that we're going to be talking about tonight, there is some movement towards assisting our water customers with lowered water rates addressed in this budget and in our talks that we'll do later on or in the first quarter of 2021. So we do appreciate your concerns, empathize with you because many of us have also had high water bills, and we can pledge to continue to work towards resolution of those issues. So thank you again for coming on. Councilmember DePino?
Thank you, Mayor. Bethany, I hear you loud and clear. There is more that we can do. There is more that we could do. As you mentioned, the amendment by Councilmember Blair, I thought that was a great way to lower the rates temporarily to offer some relief to folks. It did not have the support on the council. I hope that the council would reconsider that. I know my bill's increased. As the mayor said, his is, and a lot of others have. It hurts and it hits a little bit different when it's different people. We're not all in the same boat here. Everyone says, we're all in the same boat together here. We're not all in the same boat together. There's a lot of people out here that are suffering, that are in a lot lower socioeconomic status than others here. Some are living paycheck to paycheck, elderly, senior citizens, disabled, what have you. I feel for you. I really do. I wish that I can hear it in your voice, the pain. I wish there was a lot more that we could do as a council, but unfortunately, without the support of at least 4 council members, that amendment did fail. That Councilmember Blair did bring up. So I apologize for that. Keep speaking at these meetings. It's good for us to hear citizens like you be real and talk about what's on your mind and how this is impacting you. So again, I'm very, very sorry.
And I just will respond in that if council members have other proposals that they come up with that they think that the council should entertain to work on this, please bring those proposals forward in with a compelling argument so that you can get majority support for that proposal. But this is a council of 7 that makes these decisions on behalf of their constituents as well. Do we have any other folks in the audience who would like to who would like to speak? You can use the hand raise, or you could Grant, just in case, or the chat button, or Grant, just for the moment, would you please unmute all participants to see if somebody wanted to get my attention verbally?
And although I did not unmute the chief.
Okay, then I will say that this is the end of the. I see Samuel Jeffers has a comment in chat. Samuel, would you like to address the council? You'd have to unmute, Samuel.
No, I don't need to at this time. I'll discuss it later.
We
Okay.
do have a hand raised, Mayor.
Chona Salvador, would you like to address the council?
Hello, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
This is Cesar Salvador, Chona's husband.
John.
Yeah, so same with the concern that was brought up earlier about the water bill. So usually, I just want to say this out that we normally would pay 160 and around that area. Probably the highest is less than 170, and would pay that out. But for some reason, my wife brought it up to my attention that our bill shot up to 524. So it's very, just for the month of September, that was very shocking. So some of our friends told us to check, see if there was any leak. I personally, today I was off. I wanted to spend it and possibly do some fishing, but didn't happen because of the weather. But anyway, I decided to go and do some checking on my property or my lot. I went under my house and physically check and see if there was a leak. There isn't any at all. I even took some videos myself. So that just tells me something is wrong. The high water bill is pretty crazy. I hope that there is something that can be done about the bill, because yeah, that's something that we don't have, or or maybe even once a year or something. But yeah, that's money that we don't have.
So Caesar, thank you for taking the time to talk to council. Please call into City Hall tomorrow or the next year, have Chana do that, and make sure that we've had an opportunity to go over the bill. If you have the right type of meter on it, we could run a log that shows when the water was used and perhaps help you find an insidious leak within your house, or at least demonstrate when the water was consumed. And all water customers have the opportunity to do that by calling into our main line and then asking for the billing office to help you with that.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else from the citizens who'd like to address council tonight? Thank you. Then we will move on to the consent agenda, which is just the minutes from September 8th and September 22nd. And I will put in this public service announcement from your friendly city clerk, Lori Lucas, a reminder to 4 council members, and I'm just going to call you out. Council members Carmody, Wood, DePinto, and Stillwell still need to come in and sign the vouchers from the previous meetings. Very important official documents that we need to have your signatures on. So there'll also be some minutes that you can sign when you come in to do that. The consent agenda, again, is the minutes from those meetings, so move to approve that if we can.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah, the consent agenda. Very good. Thank you, council. We'll move on to 6, new business, and under A, the professional services agreement, Grant Beck will address the council.
Thank you. Council, I'm presenting tonight to get you to see if you will allow Mayor Foster to sign a professional service agreement with the firm BCRA in order to develop the concept and cost estimate for the Yelm Education and Innovation Center, which would be located on the property, the vacant property behind City Hall that we purchased at the same time we purchased the new City Hall. Back in 2019, the city requested funding from the legislature through the capital budget and our legislators for this study. That was approved. We began the process. We sent out a request for proposals to a number of firms from the RMSA, or excuse me, MRSC professional services roster. Received those back, and then as we were kind of scheduling time to make a selection, the pandemic struck, and we were unsure what was going to happen with the state funding and our local resources. So we put it on hold until we had some more data. You may recall we had a lot of budget talks about what was going to happen and how Yelm was going to respond back when in early days of the pandemic. At this point, we're confident that the money's going to be there from the legislature. It's already been authorized, sitting there at Commerce, ready for us to get reimbursed for it. So we proceeded with the interviews, and at the end of the day, staff preferred and is recommending the firm BCRA to prepare the study. What it entails is getting with stakeholders who might be interested in being in the building, such as the library or South Puget Sound Community College, potentially EDC or the chamber, whatever that looks like. We don't know who might be in there because we haven't, this is the process to determine that. We'd go through that to see what makes the most sense for the building, and then take that out to the public through a series of virtual public meetings. Once we get the public on board with the stakeholders' recommendation, we'd go back and start doing the space analysis for how big each of the different users would need. That would go through the same process, and then ultimately a recommendation on a preferred alternative to City Council, at which time we'd come up with a cost estimate in order to start looking for funds to actually build the building. So this was part of the council's legislative agenda back in 2017 for the 2018 legislative session. We reviewed the PSA, the Professional Services Agreement, the scope of work with the Community Economic Development Committee. And I'm sure they can help answer any questions, but at this point, our recommendation is to authorize Mayor Hardy, wow, sorry, flashback, Mayor Foster to sign the Professional Services Agreement. It feels like this project started back in that regime.
Good cover, Grant, good cover. Masonry Cafe opens at 11. Staff, do you have, or council, do you have questions for staff?
Yeah, this is Molly. I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So I understand that the original intent of the application was specifically for an SPSCC campus, along with maybe space for business incubator and potentially the library. But I think that there's been a lot of pushback on those ideas. And I'm wondering if this proposal can be used, or if it actually is intended to use, as I was kind of flipping through it today, and it looks like it's more general and not quite so specific as to the SPSCC council or campus, but that it's more of an investigative thing as to see what exactly should go in there. And it will involve, you know, a lot of stakeholders, including the, you know, people in the community and other places like that. So I want to clarify, is this specifically for a school campus and a business incubator, or is it a more generalized investigative thing?
Well, as you may recall, the things that we put in the application to the legislature were our thoughts on what could go in there, but it was always the intent to go through this process, and you're exactly right, to figure out with the community and potential stakeholders what that building looks like. So you're exactly right. That is the intent of this process.
Okay, so it's not specific, it's more general.
There are no preconceived notions on who the users would be.
Okay, good. I was a little confused by that. Thank you.
Any other questions for Grant? Yeah, Councilmember DePino.
Thank you, Mayor. You mentioned this was part of the legislative agenda in 2017. I don't recall voting on this specific item. Could you point me in the right direction to when we approve that?
Yeah, it's in your packet, in the packet that I sent out, your legislative agenda that you adopted.
It says what year it was and when it was passed,
It has the year, yeah.
but did we pass it? There was as a city council.
Well, I assume so. It's got your guys' name on it.
My point is, I don't think it was passed because, I try to take a pretty good look at what's in our legislative agenda, and this seems like a issue that for me would draw red flags, especially with the potential of costing multi-million dollars for a building after we just purchased or not a brand new building, but our newer city hall. Regardless, I do believe that this is going to cost us a lot of money, and for a study to show us that it's going to cost us a lot of money, I urge council a little restraint here in these times when we're trying to save and conserve some money here. This is a big ask, I believe.
This is Molly. I understand that what Joe is saying is that it's a big ask, but it's already money that's been allocated to the city. We're just actually taking advantage of it at this point. Is that correct?
That is correct. And council, I know it's hard, especially when you're on audio, but please ask to be recognized before you just start talking. But what Councilmember DePino is asking for is on page 32 of the packet that was sent out with the updated January 8, 2019 City of Yelm legislative priorities, which is number 3, feasibility analysis to build. And yes, it was called the South Puget Sound Community College Branch Campus in Yelm, and that's what we used as an opportunity to tell the story to our legislative partners. They understood all along that this would be conceptual and that we would use other partners going forward to take full advantage of the space. Councilmember DePino?
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I didn't see that in the packet. Could you tell me what the vote was or who voted for that? Does it show the vote?
This packet doesn't show that. You'd have to go back to the minutes of the meeting on that. This is just what was the presentation.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stillwell?
Thank you, Mayor Foster. I agree. I think this would be a good study to have, but I think we have to proceed with caution because it seems like I want the study done, but it seems like these things we don't want to be sure we're not committing to a building, which I know Grant, has said this is just a study, and that we want to be sure that we're cautious going forward, whatever the recommendations are. I understand that it's quite a process as well, right? A couple of years, is that right, Grant? Over maybe 2 years, probably.
No, the scope would actually, I think if I recall correctly, it's like 6 months, maybe 8 months. So it'd be done before July of next year. But again, that's just setting the stage. We know money doesn't fall out of the sky, but you have to be ready with the cost estimates and the plan before you can even strategize about how to pay for it or what grants to apply for.
Councilmember DePino.
Thank you, Mayor. Has the community college offered to put in funding as well for either the study or for the possible building that they'd be located in?
The community college, South Puget Sound, was advocate for our request to the legislature for the funding. No, they're not putting any money in because it's funded by the legislature, but they have been interested in partnering with us for years on getting a campus out here. And just as an aside, they have sources of funding that significant sources of funding available to them that we don't have access to necessarily. So if it turns out that that is one of the stakeholders, it actually opens up a lot of funding opportunities for it.
But to be clear, they are the stakeholder because Mayor just talked about how they were listed in the legislative proposal, which we asked for to the legislature and we got funding for. So they are a stakeholder, correct?
They're a stakeholder, absolutely. Now,
okay.
whether this is the building for them, that's what the process is for.
But this is for that building, though. I thought. Didn't the mayor just say that
they are interested in locating in Yelm? They are a stakeholder to see if the building would suit them if that's the location. It remains to be seen whether they're all in or not, but that's what the process is for. In addition, we need to reach out to a number of organizations and local communities. That's what we're doing in order to see what the community thinks that building should be when it gets built.
If it gets built.
If it gets
Councilmember Stillwell?
to that point, and if I can, the council's been discussing the South Puget Sound Community College since Mayor Foster, when we were initially doing the park master plan back in 2005, 2006. So keep in mind that things take time, but it's also a planning and review process. Things don't fall out of the sky, but you have to put the work in during the time period in order to be ready to make things happen. And just like with the park, with the community center, with the splash pad, we knew when we did that master park plan that those things weren't going to be open the next day. But you have to put the motion and the project in motion and have the plan before you could even start talking about the legislative funding that went into that building, the federal money that went into the splash pad and the playground. It's a process, and this is part of that. And if you stop it now, that's a huge opportunity lost for the future. And it won't be, I guarantee you, it will not be while I'm working for the city. The horizon for building this thing is well past my retirement date.
Councilmember Stillwell?
Well, past your retirement date of next year doesn't count, Grant. I'm just kidding.
But it still is. True statement.
And if council remembers, we were able to meet with Dr. Stokes and I believe the dean of SPSCC when this came about, just to see if they were interested. And I reported on that, but they are very interested in having a campus. And one of the reasons, again, this is putting the cart way before the horse, but some of the history is that Running Start, for example, does not serve a lot of people from Yelm because not every family has a car for them to get there, to that campus. And there's a lot of other factors, but they are very interested. And we also talked about having partners, the EDC, the port, and of course the library, which I know there are a few of us that would really like to find an option. Again, these are, as Grant said, these are things that will be found out in 6 months or 12 months to find out who's actually interested in if it's feasible, hence the feasibility study. But I just wanted to remind us that we did talk about this. I did meet with Dr. Stokes and the dean, and they are very interested. So it's didn't just come out of some random conversation we had. It was actually a in-person meeting that I was fortunate enough to attend, a few of them.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
If I may, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Mayor Foster to enter a professional services agreement with BCRA to develop a conceptual design for the Yelm Education and Innovation Center and prepare a cost estimate for that design.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? I'll call for the vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-1 with Councilmember DePinto dissenting. So thank you, Grant, for your work on this, and we'll look forward to those community discussions on what the Education Innovation Center is going to look like.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, hold on a second. There we go. So thank you. We're now going to go on to new business B, which is the main meat of our meeting tonight. And as Heidi's teeing up her presentation, I'll just say, folks, there's been a lot going on in 2020. If I was to say there's a lot going on at City, I'm just going to be reflecting basically back on all of your lives as well. We've managed some pretty crazy things with wildfire smoke and super hot summers resulting in high water bills, and a novel virus that came to our shores and indeed has gone viral in the truest sense. We've tried stopping it. Some have tried ignoring it, but it has taken a hold of our community in ways that we have never seen before. It changed how we did business as a city. It's challenged us to keep our employees and their families and our customers safe. And it's necessitated a shutdown of our economy in ways that we haven't seen before. But also, we believe that this has saved lives. And for that, we're grateful. But we still had things to do. We still have regional meetings to attend. We still had to keep everything alive. And thank you, Council, for your continued efforts on doing the extraterritorial meetings that you spend time on. I redoubled my efforts to make sure that Yelm's voice was still being heard regionally with our legislative partners, with our planning partners. That's why I chair the Thurston Regional Planning Council. That's why I'm on the RMSA Board of Directors. We do those things because we have to make Yelm an important part of the conversation. In fact, the focal point of some of those conversations. That's what brings us here tonight, is that we have to move forward with a budget. These are the things that I have to do, need to do, look forward to doing now every 2 years. And it's a culmination of the effort of so many people in our city family. Obviously, Heidi McDonald and the finance team, fantastic work. Michael Graham, Todd, Grant, Sonia over at the courts, of course, Lori and Cody Colt out at Public Works and that whole team. But right down to every single member of our city family, the way they do their work with professionalism and efficiency, trying to save a dollar everywhere we can, right down to the teamwork that they show in our negotiations with our bargaining units, to understand that we need to make a bridge to our future that's sustainable. That's what we're all working toward. And I think that's, we've done a good job of bringing forward to you a budget that's responsible to the goals that the council has set forward in the last several years of planning. So thank you for the guidelines. Thank you for the support. We've put a lot of work into this, and I'm looking forward to Heidi sharing this budget presentation with you, which opens the conversation. She'll then finish her presentation with the timeline that will follow to move this budget through to adoption in that process. So, and again, a reminder that this presentation and the full budget packet will be on the City of Yelm's website after the meeting, and it will be under the news section and also in the finance section of our city webpage. It will also be sent to you by email. So with that, Heidi McDonald, Finance Director, Budget 2021.
Hello, thank you. I'm actually excited and very proud to present this budget. A lot of research and hard work has gone into it. I can say that it's really a solid and realistic foundation for the next 2 years of the city. Basically, the budget is a policy document, and it reflects our principles, it directs our day-to-day life, and it puts us on track for the future. It basically makes our mission possible. Let's see. There we go. And our mission is to provide essential public services to keep Yelm and its infrastructure and everything going smoothly in a very desirable place to live. As Michael Graham often refers to, it's our mission that makes our vision possible. And we have vision, and our vision is to keep our neighborhoods and schools safe, to have sustainable, effective public infrastructure, to develop a strong and diverse economy, keep our places vibrant and enduring. And honestly, we all strive to have the best run government. Today, we're going to talk about the general fund. That's the primary focus of tonight's meeting, is a high-level overview. There'll be, like the mayor said, opportunities to discuss in detail departments and special revenue funds and enterprise funds. Here at the general fund, our main sources of revenue are the sales tax and use, the business occupation tax, and the property taxes. So I'm going to give you a quick look at the top 3 revenue sources, the trends, the property tax. And we have budgeted with the customary 1% allowable plus new construction. You can see that it increases rather slowly, but it is a very steady stream of income for us. And it helps us to provide services, the police, the park, and everything that goes along with the general fund. Our next one is our sales and use tax, which is really the bulk of the money, and that comes from sales tax that's spent around our community. Our third biggest source of income is business and occupation tax. And the blue here represents business that is businesses who are serving our local residents. The other colors indicate different utility tax. Basically, utilities who provide services in the city of Yelm pay a tax to use our city structures, streets, and right-of-way and such. At the city, the biggest expense is employee benefits and salaries. You can see by this graph that there is a decrease or a leveling actually in 2020 because of proactive management in face of the COVID situation. In 2021, it increases a bit, but that is due to a police officer who is retiring and covering for that retirement and getting the new person up and running. Then back down in 2022, it drops back down a bit. This budget here, it maintains our current staffing levels and our service levels, at the same time maintaining our policy of a minimum ending fund balance of 15% of annual expenditures. And like I mentioned, it adds 1 additional police officer temporarily to make the transition from a new employee to a retiring employee to a new employee, and retains our seasonal public works staff. A couple of major factors that went into this budget were our property and liability insurance saw an increase of 8% both in 2021 and anticipated for 2022. Our medical benefits that are provided to employees, they increased 4% each year. We are in a contract with several unions, and the ASME union has a 3% COLA contracted for 2021, and we have estimated a 1% COLA for the FOP and the Teamsters, which are in negotiations at this time. It also takes into account the cumulative effect of salary increases that are bargained. And according with the financial policies, we work to keep that. We don't want staff expense to go up more than we anticipate revenue, so we can sustain our services.
Heidi, would you entertain questions from council as you go, or would you prefer to wait till the end?
I can entertain them.
Councilmember DePino?
Thank you, Mayor. Heidi, would you mind going back 1 slide? And for the audience viewing, would you please, no, yep, you were on the right one. The other one, yep, on that one. Would you please explain to the audience what ASME is, FOP, and Teamsters, and who they represent in the city?
ASME is the union that represents our administrative employees. The FOP is the union that represents our police officers, and Teamsters represent our public works employees.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. What this budget does not include or factor in is cost of living adjustments or COLAs for the unrepresented staff for 2021 or 2022. Nor does it represent or factor in any additional COLAs that might be bargained for in 2022. Where all of these numbers, where the dust settles is we expect a beginning fund balance at the beginning of the year of 1.36 million with annual revenues of 14.4 million and expenditures of 14.6, which would leave an ending fund balance of 1.1 million. And that is in line with our policy for minimum fund balance We try to keep a minimum of 15%. And in this case, it would be just under a 1.01 million. And so what happens is it leaves a variance available for one-time investments of just $6,600 roughly. And as the year comes to an end and new information comes to us, this could go up or it could go down. And so it is really my recommendation that you just allow this to roll over into the ending fund balance and be set aside in case we should need it in the future. And so the spike here, the blue line, it shows the total revenue and the total expenditures. The spike in 2018 reflects, excuse me, it reflects the establishment of our ER&R funds as well as infrastructure investment. In 2021, or in 2020, you can see that it decreased because we were conservatively and proactively managing in face of the COVID pandemic. In 2021, it increases a bit due to the habitat conservation plan and the overlap of that police officer. And then in 2022, it balances out again and becomes even. This here is a representation of revenues, which are in green, and expenditures in orange. And our fund balance, our historical fund balance, and our estimated fund balance going forward is represented by the blue line. And so it's important, as you can see by the graph, that expenditures are generally speaking predicted to be a little bit more than revenues. And here at the city, we have constantly underspent our budget and proactively managed to make sure that we don't spend more than we take in. And we always work to budget realistically and budget so we can sustain our services going forward. Our path forward to adopting the budget, as outlined in the adopted budget schedule. Later this week on the 14th, we'll have a finance committee meeting where we will review the September financials, which will be included in your fourth Tuesday board packet as customary for you guys to review in detail. We'll take a look at the ad valorem and dig a little deeper into this budget. On October 27th, we'll have our first public hearing on revenue and then adjourn to a budget session where we will hear from our police and court departments on their budget presentations. November 3rd is a study session that we'll use as a budget workshop where Public Works, Human Resources, and Customer Service team will present you their budget. November 10th, our first business meeting of the month, we'll have our public hearing on the ad valorem, a public hearing on the preliminary budget, and then adjourn to another budget workshop where we will hear from community development, IT, and myself on our department presentations. November 24th is our third and final public hearing. In addition, we'll have our review and adjustment of the current budget cycle we're in, and it'll be your first opportunity to adopt the biennial budget. If it's not ready or you're not ready to adopt it at that time, we can continue discussions at the December 1st study session and possibly adopt it at the December 8th business meeting. We have clear until December 31st to make the adoption. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Heidi? Okay, Council, you see the presentation tonight. You will see the entire packet, which is rather large. If you have made recommendations to the budget in any way, either written or verbal in committee, you'll see them addressed within the budget as I've presented it to you. This is the start of the conversation, and opportunities for you will arise time and again to champion any particular concept that you might have for inclusion in this budget overall. Councilmember DePino?
Thank you, Mayor. I sent in a budget request probably about a month ago to yourself, to City Minister, to Michael Graham, and to Heidi as well. I got zero response. I was wondering, did that bounce or did you actually receive that?
So as I just said, all of the proposals that were submitted to me via committee or on the form or verbally have been incorporated into this budget. You'll either see them in there or you'll see them not in there, but further discussion on each one of those can be taken up during our budget workshops.
I heard you, but I'm just curious if you received it. I just want a simple answer. I received your email or I did not.
Yes, we did receive your email.
Okay, thank you.
I'm looking at the, before we go on, Council, this during an agenda item, we can also take some questions from the audience if they're pertinent to this agenda item. I'm going to look at the chat real quick. The question is this PowerPoint presentation available for viewing by the residents of Yelm? Yes, again, that will be posted immediately following the council meeting. You'll also be able to see this because the meeting is recorded, and you'll see this on our YouTube channel. You could watch this again, or you could go to the presentation on the City of Yelm webpage, again, under the news section, and there'll be a link to this presentation and the entire budget packet. And that answers the second question as well. Any other questions from council? And again, I want to thank Heidi and her silent team of supporters who are behind her, but in the attendees tonight, who all helped make this presentation and the budget packet come together. And we look forward to council working on this to bring it to life during the workshops. So with that, we will move on to old business. And we have none scheduled. So we'll go to updates, and we'll start with Mr. Graham.
And that concludes my remarks. Any questions?
You've used that one 3 times in a row, Michael.
It's for EJ. I know she likes me to keep my comments as sweet, as short as possible, and I just want to make her smile. That's my whole goal in life. Good evening, council. Great presentation, Mayor, and thanks to everyone that had a hand in making this budget possible. As the mayor said, it was no easy effort, and it touched all departments, members of the finance committee, and we look forward to continuing the process and the conversation going forward to adopt the budget before December 31st, as your schedule requires and outlines. I wanted to give you a couple of quick updates. The first being about the CARES Act. As you all know, we have received funding from the CARES Act, and we have distributed those funds. Checks continue to be written and allocated. I think there's only a couple left to deliver, and appreciate Councilmember Stillwell and Curry and Wood on the General Government Committee that have been making those tough decisions, reviewing the applications, all the staff behind the scenes that have been doing the analysis to make sure they are consistent and compliant with the requirements, are actually a business, do business in Yelm, pay their taxes, etc. And all that work. And then the mayor and those that are actually out personally delivering those checks. It makes a big difference in the community. If you haven't received yours yet, you've been awarded funds, a check will be brought or delivered to you or mailed to you shortly. And then in tandem with that, we're continuing to work with the Department of Commerce on all their reporting requirements to submit the reimbursements for those funds. And when that is made and submitted, we'll be sure to update you, Council. I also wanted to let you know that the Phase 2 funding application for the water reclamation facility was due today, and that requires 60% of the plans to be established. And ours was submitted yesterday. It was submitted early. And just another hats off to our Public Works Department for all the work that is being done to really take care of that current need and the future need of upgrading and improving the WRF. It's a critical infrastructure project for the city. On that note, I was informed by Cody Cold, our Public Works Director, that he has worked with the Public Works Committee. So thank you, Councilmember DePino, Curry, and Carmody. And they've been looking at a surcharge study, and that study has been completed by FCS. I know they're going to keep processing around what that could look like, and then the Public Works Committee will tee up a proposal for the council to consider of how to sustainably fund those critical improvements to the WRF. So please stay tuned for that going forward. Looking at a couple of schedule items, one to let everyone know, really kudos to our Human Resources Department. Lori and Karen came up with a great idea. Actually, I don't know who came up with it, but one of our team members on the management team came up with the idea, and these two are executing it flawlessly. It's an employee appreciation lunch, and what they're doing is they put together a boxed lunch drive, and that'll be happening this Thursday. And we're encouraging everyone on our city staff to attend and appreciate. There's a goodie bag focused on wellness, repurposing those wellness dollars, giving them a lunch, and just telling the employees, even though we're distant, we are still together, working together as a team, and want to give them some appreciation and for the respect that they deserve. So that'll be happening on Thursday. If you hear about that, we also have the Great Shakeout that is coming on October 15th at 10:15. So be ready to shake and participate in that wherever you happen to be at that time. All the staff, all the council members would receive a notification. So if we have your phone number, you'll be getting a notification through our emergency network. And we just encourage everyone to participate, even though it will just be a drill. It's that type of preparation and conversations that happen afterwards that will make us help us be ready for the real thing. Also wanted to let you know that the police department is recruiting residents to serve on an oversight committee based on the requirements of Initiative 940. This group will review any excessive force by the department if it ever occurs. I doubt it ever will. We hope it never does, but if it does, Initiative 940 requires that a committee be established. And this is something that will be part of the conversation that we'll be having about boards and commissions here at one of your future meetings. But we'll be putting that notice out soon to recruit and encourage residents to apply for that committee. One other really cool event that's coming up is we're doing a virtual tour of the water reclamation facility. That'll occur during the week of October 19th. You can put on the virtual reality glasses and actually get in there and walk around what some of the upgrades and future sites will be. This is going to be a neat opportunity. Something else that we're also looking to do when the sun comes out again early next year is we'll have education signs and information put up so that people can actually physically come to the site and look around and see what was old, see what's being upgraded, and see what's planned and envisioned for the future. So it's one of many things that we have to really connect the community to the infrastructure projects that we're all investing in, both for present need and for our future. So that concludes my update. And again, I just want to thank everyone on the Finance Committee, all the staff, and everyone that had a hand in developing this budget that you will consider and evaluate over the next couple of months. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions. Councilmember DePino?
Thank you. And thank you, Michael, for the update. It was good. I was curious, has there been any updates regarding the FOP on union negotiations?
No, nothing other than what Heidi just said, that they're ongoing. Both
So no meetings have occurred.
The FOP and the Teamsters negotiations continue.
No, so I without talking about what happened in executive session, has there been any other further meetings with FOP since that meeting, since that executive session?
Yes, we met with you as council in executive session before we met with the union. And I think there have been, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, I think there's been 2 or 3 meetings that have happened with the FOP. I know there's been 2 that have happened with the Teamsters for sure. And as Heidi said earlier, those conversations will continue.
Could we get an update, please, in an executive session? Either at this next, I think it'd be appropriate for this next city council meeting.
Sure, we can do that. And are you thinking that would be before an agreement a tentative agreement is reached?
Yes, just an update, what's going on, what numbers you're thinking and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, we'd be glad to provide that because that obviously has a critical factor in the budget, and so that'd be appropriate.
Yeah.
And then also we'll bring back to you, council, for ratification, any tentative agreements that are reached. Council would then have to ratify that and then factor that into the budget.
Yeah, I was a little concerned in the budget where it showed that there was going to be no expenditures, expected expenditures regarding the FOP or the other the Teamsters Union. That was a little concerning for me.
Well, here's the thing on that, and it's important to note. Everyone does budgets differently, and with the opportunity that we have with the new finance director and consistent with our financial policies, is rather than parking money aside and using that to negotiate with and having everyone feel like, essentially that they could have gotten more or they could have saved more, our approach is we're putting all the numbers out there on the table. And obviously you all know all the information is out there on the website. We have our previously adopted budget. We have the previously proposed budget. We have the council updates that you guys received at the end of each month, which are there as part of your council packets. And then when we've sat down in these conversations, we've kind of opened the kimono and said, here's what we have, here's the constraints, here's what we're dealing with. Same numbers that we're seeing in the budget tonight. One thing that we have done is as part of these conversations, we've offered a 1% cost of living increase just as part of a bridge to get us from these times that we're facing right now to a point that is a little more stable financially for us, which is in everyone's interest to negotiate long-term contracts in that environment. So that's part of the bridge approach. We have not reached a full agreement with either of those unions yet, but we did want to put it in the budget because just being transparent, that's what we offer, that's what we can afford, and you can see how close the margins are in the budget that was proposed and that you'll consider. And also you can see, anytime you do a COLA, it has a compounding effect. So when you give them a 1% COLA for 1 year, that will carry forward into all those future years. And as you know, council member and others, you have to factor in that total cost of compensation, because as you look at the numbers that Heidi just presented to you, when your expenditures actually exceed your revenues, you either increase taxes or you cut services and cut employees. And that's a position that no one wants to be in. And so it's really important for us to look at those long-term costs and, share that information and negotiate in good faith, being as transparent as we are. So anyway, be glad to answer any more questions, and we'll continue the conversation in an executive session going forward. Any other questions, council?
Okay, we'll go on to council member updates then, and we'll start with council member Carmody. Molly, you still with us? Actually, it doesn't look like she is. So we'll come back to her when she reconnects, and we'll move down to council member Curry.
Okay, I had Southeast Thurston Fire Authority meeting last week, and we've all made the decision we need to get back to meeting in person again. The meetings are much longer, but we get more work done, and everything seems to be kind of on hold. And meetings are short, but their transports are up for the month, and they had lots of good public press from the Carmody Fire over in Eastern Washington. I think that was it. My notes are out in the car. But anyhow, it was a short meeting, 22 minutes, and it's done. And let's see, the senior center had their first weekend of their scavenger hunt and scary house thing, and they had about 20 people, and it goes on for the next 2 Saturdays, and then in November will be their fall bazaar. And next week I will hopefully be able to get on to Medic One.
Very good. Thank you. And on that note, folks, do keep in mind that we keep in a list of current and events coming up in the city on our webpage, as does the NVN, and more organizations are finding ways to be compliant with the health guidelines and still have their events. And farms have been allowed to open up more now and have more things like hay rides and pumpkin patches and so forth. So do look for ways to support your community organizations as they try to find new ways to keep their programs alive. Thanks, EJ.
You bet.
We'll move down to Council Member Stillwell.
Thank you, Mayor Foster, Council. Last week I attended the EDC meeting. Grant and team gave a great brief on what we learned tonight. And tomorrow I was supposed to attend the emergency management meeting, but I will be doing some federal, I was going to say federal time, but that's not appropriate. Federal duties tomorrow. So I won't be able to attend that meeting tomorrow. And that's about it. And other than I want to thank again, Councilmember Curry and Wood, and again, taking all of my millions of phone calls, meeting with me on the spur of the moment and getting these grants taken care of. I really appreciate that, and the staff. That's taken a tremendous amount of time. Thank you.
And thank you for clarifying how you'll be serving time. We do appreciate your actively working with your military connection to protect our community. So dual roles. Thanks, Dad. Councilmember Wood and Panda.
I was unable to attend the TCOM meeting last week. Unfortunately, I had a dental incident, which put me right in the chair and put me on some pain medication. So it wouldn't have been a good representation, I think, had I attended. And I have the Transportation Policy Board meeting at 7, which I'll have to leave a little early because I get to go back to the dentist tomorrow morning to have said problem extracted. So it's going to be an interesting morning tomorrow, but looking forward to learning what's going on with transportation and the TRPC. That's my report.
Thanks, Tracy. And if your alternate would like to attend with you occasionally on the TPP, especially this time of year, it would be good exercise for them, and then they could, catch you up on what happens afterwards. I can't sit in for you on that one because as chair of the TRPC, your recommendations would then come to me for the vote. So your alternate would have to step in with you if they're capable of doing that. Thanks, and I'm glad your tooth is better.
Well, it's feeling better. It's they're going to go ahead and get rid of it and give me a brand new one. So
nice.
Yeah, Christmas. Good times.
Thank you. Councilmember DePino.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a lot of meetings with individual constituents regarding mainly their water rates and their excessive bills over the last couple months. Telling them, just urging them to contact the city, and if they can work out a payment plan with yourself or staff, that probably be the best option. But also, let them know that we are trying to work on it with the Public Works Committee, and I'll go into that in a second. First, I had a Thurston EDC meeting where we discussed a few items. First was we discussed racial equity and inclusion within the EDC. They're trying to do studies and make sure that they're racially inclusive of everyone. We also talked about the Innovation Station, which is it's a new program that EDC is designed to help innovators and inventors, partners them up with different folks in industry and gives them different avenues to help them. Talked about, mark your calendars for October 21st from 11 a.m. to 12:30, the EDC's Real Estate Forum. It's going to be held virtually with a keynote speaker being Matthew Gardner. He's the chief economist for the Windermere Real Estate organization up here. So Terry, you might be interested in that, other folks. And lastly, we debriefed on the efforts of Thurston Strong, which the EDC has been a strong component of. They've helped over 482 businesses with over $700,000 in micro business grants, over $600,000 in childcare grants, and helped over 900 businesses with masks, sanitizer, and thermometer and digital thermometers. So big thank you also to the city of Olympia, Tumwater, and Lacey, who been big contributors for that as well. And we here in the folks in the city of Yelm, we are benefiting from them, and as all of Thurston County is. So thank you to Thurston EDC, and thank you for those cities that have been contributing to that. I had a Public Works Committee meeting. We talked about as Michael talked about, some of the ways that we're going to try to look at for new water rate proposals that can hopefully be more equitable for everybody. The biggest things for that is lower water rates for senior citizens, reducing the tiers from 4 to 2, and including the first 400 cubic feet of water with the just the basic cost of your basic cost. So hopefully that helps. I do believe it'll help a lot, and I think the council will enjoy it as well. It doesn't lower the funding that we have, current levels of that. And I think it's a lot more equitable for the citizens here too. I think they're going to be really happy with that. So more to talk about that as soon as we hear back from our next meeting, or whenever we have our next meeting, probably early next month. And then lastly, we had the Yelm Economic Development Committee, which Councilmember Stilwell already talked about. The only other thing I wanted to add to that was we did discuss committee assignments, not for us, but for other committees that are appointed either by the mayor. Well, they are appointed by the mayor, and some of those were discussed. The staff brought up points that there's not much attendance in some of them. It's a lot of work for some of the staff members to staff all these different committees, and they talked about adding them all into one committee into the Tad, help me out here. Which committee? It's one of our more important committees. Gosh, why can't I think about it? It's on the tip of my tongue here. It's the committee that we help, that helps the planning commission. Excuse me, planning commission. Yeah, you were just about to say it. The planning commission. So they were talking about consolidating all these other groups, like the tree group. That for their biggest thing they do is Arbor Day each year. Putting that in there and consolidating for all of them. But, it kind of loses the voice though. And I don't want to speak for everyone else on the committee, but I think we all kind of thought that it is important to have those committees speak for themselves rather than the same people speaking for all multiple committees. So we're hoping to find a way that we can make it a little more easier for staff, and perhaps it's lessening the meetings, the amount of meetings. As if for the tree committee, it's only like one big thing that they talk about every year, which is Arbor Day, and so maybe they can meet quarterly instead of the way they are now. Other than that, though, looking forward to a good week. I don't have anything else. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And so with most of my attention on budgeting stuff, of course, and some other issues that we had coming up, we did have, I was able to teach the online first aid and CPR class to our city family, and been working with them in groups and individuals to get their practical application done. EJ?
Did you leave Terry out?
Yes, because I really wanted to let Terry have the last word.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Nice catch. Terry, hold on I'm almost done, Terry. I'm so sorry.
It's
Good
fine.
save, Mayor Harding.
Deserved. On the 12th, I was part of the Regional Housing Council's funding group. This is an important point for us to remember, that the other mayors of South County asked me to represent them at the Regional Housing Council so that we have a voice. The Regional Housing Council has broken down into smaller groups. One of them is the funding group, and this is the group that will advise the larger Regional Housing Council, who will in turn advise the county commissioners on what the priorities are, and for the different funds that we can draw from in funding. And we're talking about a lot of money, probably this year, $3, $4, $5 million worth of funds that come in, that the Regional Housing Council can recommend to the county commissioners for expenditure on housing issues. So pleased to be a part of that discussion. And then today we had the Yelm Chamber Forum, candidate forum. So it was nice to see that the candidates for the 2 contested county commissioner races were here. Our own County Commissioner Edwards, whose opponent, Mike Stedman from Lacey City Council, addressed questions posed to them by Brian Wharton. And then District 1 candidates Carolina Mejia and C. Davis also answered the same questions. And I was able to help Superintendent Wharton craft the questions that would be asked of these candidates. And we really wanted them to focus on Yelm. What can they do for Yelm? Why do they feel Yelm is important? And how can Yelm support the region? And they all expressed a similar enthusiasm and appreciation for what Yelm has become and what Yelm continues to do. So it was a great conversation to be able to watch today. And now, the moment that we've all been waiting for, Terry Kaminsky, bring us home.
Oh my God, sorry guys. I had my cloaking device on there and you didn't see me. Nothing extraordinary to say. EDC, we've talked about. Finance committee, I think I was the only person there this week. So I had a private lesson with Michael and Heidi, which was very, very good. We talked about this preliminary budget and also reviewed the new asks that the council did put in there. And Nisqually River Council is Friday. And the other thing, I'm still working through my copious notes on the downtown corridor revitalization seminar that I attended. And there was lots of really, really good ideas. And going back to groups, they even had things like Main Street commissions that were formed, maybe kind of like our old Central Business District group that had got together and then disbanded. Downtown management districts, and one city locally even has a paid downtown manager, which I thought was very, very interesting idea. So I'll go through those notes still and bring you some more reports later. Oh, and when we get the 10:15 emergency thing, do we go all under our desks or what? Nobody said, what do we do? Is it just hide? Is there a protocol for following?
Well, you know, we could elevate Chief Stansel to entertain that. Chief, are you with us?
I'll just go under my desk and eat my lunch or something.
So we will have some advisory for you. We'll send it out to you, Terry. But yeah, drop, cover, and hold is the traditional response to that. It always brings back the story that we remember when we were having our audit during the first great shakeout, and the auditor actually crawled underneath his desk with his laptop and continued to work. Great efficiency. So stay safe. And on that note, also, please take a moment, if you have not done so, to go to the Thurston County Alert System. You can get to that through the City of Yelm's webpage and sign up to be on those alerts so that you will also get a notification at 10:15 on 10:15 that the Great Shakeout has begun. Now, even though I promised Terry that she would be the last word, I see that Molly has been able to get back online. So Councilmember Carmody, do you have a report for council?
Yeah, just really, really quickly. Intercity Transit, we adopted the 2019 annual report and the 2025 transit development plan. Of course, things got kind of derailed with COVID, and they're not really sure where things are going to go transit wise, if more people are working from home or just not working at all. We authorized a couple of contracts, and we also, and this was interesting, and I sent out an email to the General Government Committee on this. Intercity Transit is extending the Community Advisory Committee commitments to an additional year, because a lot of those folks, their meetings were canceled. They didn't get to do the stuff that they wanted to do with Intercity Transit. And so I don't know if this is a formal thing that council would have to do, or we'd have to vote on it. Not sure, but just putting it out there to extend all of our citizen community committees appointments another year, to give everybody a chance to participate in local government. And Joe covered all of the public works stuff, and we have finance tomorrow. So that's about all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Molly. All right, then, we've concluded our business and our reports, so.
One quick question for good of the
Go ahead,
order.
Joe.
I just tried to look on the City of Yelm's website for that, for the proposed budget. Has it been put up yet, or where will it be put up?
We're waiting till the meeting ends to make sure that we gathered all the input, and then it has to be formatted in the way that we can put it on there. So Michael
Gotcha.
assures me that we'll, within 30 minutes or so, we'll be able to get it on there.
Sounds good. On the homepage then, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you very much. Move to adjourn.
Say that again?
Move to adjourn.
No, the question, what was the question about the webpage?
Oh, I said, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And
Move to adjourn.
move. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. You can stop recording, Brianna.